Guys, welcome to another podcast. Today, I have a really fun guest for you. This is actually a close friend of mine, colleague that we have been working on many projects together in executive protection. He is my black brother, and and we've had some very fun projects together, and playing off that duo there. Both of us having an American accent. Him with his looking like a basketball star, and me just being your white cracker. We have a lot of fun with our clients, and they get to really see a good duo. And so, any case, without further ado, Adael Bryant, Bryant like Kobe Bryant. You
Like
heard me
Kobe Bryant.
correctly. And what can I say about him? He is much younger than I am, better in shape than I am. He's a blue belt in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, total badass. He is also a veteran of the Israeli Defense Forces combat unit. Again, when you look at him and you hear him speak, he's not from the Ethiopian community, so he obviously sticks out as an anomaly in the IDF. And we'll get into that in the podcast here and his unique role serving here in Israel. But he's also the founder of Warrior Nation, which is a foundation to help veterans with PTS. I don't like to say the D, but he said PTSD, so I'll do that for him, and I'll explain the why. I personally don't believe that it's a disorder if you have post-traumatic stress symptoms, right? I mean, it's part of being a normal human being.
hmm
But in any case, that's part of what he does through teaching his version of self-defense, Krav Maga, and that's through his many years of background, both in the military, the Israeli Defense Forces, and a combat unit, and also in his high-speed training with Israeli executive protection, where we train a different version of Krav Maga, and he combines that into his package, where he's able to bring that to the table. Like I said, also a BJJ martial artist. So Bryant definitely knows how to handle himself if he needs to, and I know he has, and we might get into that here in the podcast. So Bryant, without further ado, brother, tell us a little about yourself. Why is it that we have a non-Ethiopian serving the Israel Defense Forces? How does that work? Tell us about yourself, brother, how you got here to Israel, and we'll work from there.
All right. So first of all, it's an honor to be here. Really glad to be here. And just a bit about myself. So I was born and raised in Israel. I was in Israel as part of a community called the Hebrew Israelites, where we all Americans who came from overseas back in the late '60s. So that's how I actually got rolled here in Israel. Um, Grew up down south in Dimona, Israel. Military. After the military, joined the government sector. Did a few jobs there for a few years. Rolled into executive protection. That's where we met. I don't know if you remember,
Oh, I
but
remember. I remember.
the the difference between government sector and the private sector, you come like you already tough and you this, you that. You're like, hey, bro, chill out. Everything is okay. We
Yeah.
know you're dangerous. Take it easy.
Yeah.
So after executive protection, I actually started Warrior Nation, as you mentioned, um, and I'm here today.
Well, man, I've been following your progress on social media, and I'm just super excited to just see how you've taken your vision that we would, sit there for hours together on projects, and you would just bounce off ideas with me and tell me, what do you think of this, and what do you think of that? And it's just super cool and super fun to see how you created a brand for yourself, and it's I mean it's super fresh. It's young. I mean, I'm an older geezer out of the two of us, right, so to speak. You bring that younger vibe to your online presence, and I really like your messaging. I really like the way you're encouraging people to be warriors, to be dangerous, and you're bringing from all of your years of experience, to that online platform. But tell me a little bit about you just kind of blaze through, military, government. So you're in a combat unit, and essentially the community that you're a part of, that wasn't an accepted thing to do, right? I mean, like most of the guys that you grew up with, they don't necessarily serve in the IDF.
So basically, everyone in the community, we have 100% of people who join the IDF, but not everyone joined combat units. There's a few parents, it's like old school, they're like, you can join the military, but not combat. So among my friends, I'm an exception. This is the guy who went and he went to commander school and he went to officer school. Like, so who's this guy? What he's doing?
Yeah.
And I'm
So,
happy.
so,
I'm
so
really
they're pacifists, basically. Is that? Am I understand correctly?
the what? Sorry.
They're pacifists in their worldview. Like they don't believe in violence. Is that it?
I'll say that we grew up in a close community, so the idea and the main theme we tried to hold on to as part of the community is no violence, always be peacemakers. We call it a village of peace. That's where I grew up,
Hmm.
and huge believer of not going after the violence. So going joining the military unit, a combat unit, is like two different worlds colliding.
Totally
That's what I
taboo
was.
for your community. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
that's the thing. Like when we were talking, because I know of your community from afar, but I've never gotten to sit down and talk to one of the dudes and be like, hey, tell me about your guys. How in the world do you end up here? Because, like I pointed out here earlier, you're not Ethiopian. Anybody who knows the difference, African Americans coming from the United States, which is where the community originated from, are different type of black African community, right, than the ones that we're used to in Israel from the Aliyah from Africa, which is predominantly from Ethiopia.
Right.
Um, so, I mean, you have a very unique community, and I think it's important for the audience here to also recognize that because Israel is constantly accused of being an apartheid country, and I think if anybody can speak contrary to that, is somebody like you growing up in a very 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 small minority in the country.
Hmm. Um, yeah. So definitely talking about the apartheid country. It's kind of funny to me that people talk about it because it's like let's put me aside. We have so many communities here in the country that are not 100% pure Jewish. Let's call it that way.
Yeah.
So calling us apartheid as Israel, that's the wrong thing to do.
Mhm.
As a community, as a minority in Israel, I have my difficulties, like everybody
Mhm.
else. I'm not even about to start whining about it, but
Right, right.
like seriously. But
Yeah.
we grew up, seeing white people was weird. White people seeing black people was weird. It is what it
Right.
is. What it is. We
Yeah.
respected everybody. People respected us, so we didn't
Yeah.
have to collide.
Yeah, yeah. And so how was your service when you started your military service? How was that like for you? Um, were you like the only guy in your platoon that came from your group?
So my military service that started in 2015. I think I was the first one from my class to join a combat unit. I started off. I was actually trying to go for the SEALs, Navy SEAL Shaita 13.
Hmm.
That didn't work out, but I got really close to it. And a lot of people, let's say, they knew I wanted to do it, and once I went for it, they're like, "Oh wow, look at this guy. What is he doing?" Nobody said it out loud, but when you feel people
Hmm.
vibes, they're like, "Wow, this is something new. This is something fresh he's bringing to the table." So let's see what it's gonna go out to. And for a very long time, I don't think people came at me and said, "Hey, I see you. I see what you're
Mm,
doing. You're doing something different. You're an example for us." But the message is slowly starting to come out today, after all these years.
that is so cool. And
Yeah.
and 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 the thing that I found that was also unique for you, because this is again like this whole thing about apartheid and whatever. I mean, I joke and I say, I'll tell you all about white privilege because I was the white dude that grew up in northern Israel with a predominantly Moroccan, Iraqi, Yemenite, Middle Eastern Jews, Arab Jews, basically.
Hmm.
And I constantly got my butt kicked because I was that different kid than everyone else. But, um, you actually got taken into, if I remember correctly, during your military service, you were taken into a Middle Eastern family yourself. So it's like you actually got to experience a different culture than what you grew up with. How was that
Right.
like?
So, funny story. So,
And
growing
it
up
was
in an
like on
all
a
black,
family level, right? I
it
mean, it
was a
was on family.
to
It
this day,
wasn't like, yeah, yeah.
till this
Which I
day.
was like you kept talking about and I was like, what is he talking about? It took me a while where we would sit there and talk like, what is he talking about? You
Yeah,
know?
till this day. So,
Yeah.
the family that I live with, the Bloom family, when I first moved there, when I first, let's say, got out the community to the military, I had no idea what was Ashkenaz, what was Yemen, what was Moroccan. I just knew black and white. That was it.
Right.
So, like seriously, and joining uh, Middle Eastern families, all of a sudden it's like, whoa, so many different values, so many different virtues, and it's like, what is this world that I haven't been exposed to all these years? And the mixture of that, it had its complex, but a lot of things I was able to learn, I was able to endure through this family, and it was a great experience. It was a really
Mhm.
great experience. Now it sounds small, but when
Yeah.
you join something totally different from what you grew up on, 18, 19 years, it's a huge shift. It's a huge
Yeah.
shift.
And the fact that they even took you in and you were just part of the family, right? It wasn't like, you know, oh, this guy, what a pain in the butt he has to be with us, right? I mean, essentially they
Yeah.
brought you in, if I understood correctly. Is that right?
Yeah. So in the military, the family that I live with, one of the daughters, we was friends in the unit. And I was having a few problems back home. She's like, "Hey, you should come to my parents' house and just enjoy the weekend." So I went through the lone soldier process, and I ended up at her place. And from one weekend, her parents were like, "Hey, we like you. You should come another weekend." I'm like, "Wait,
Yeah.
what?" Uh,
Yeah.
that's not cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, they convinced me, and from one weekend to 2 weekends to 10 years almost.
So cool. And
Yeah,
what a story of apartheid, right?
right.
Um, and that's why people talk to me about apartheid, and then I know people like you, and I know Arab Christians, Muslims, you name it, like just all these ethnicities, like you pointed out. Israel's not
Hmm.
just a predominantly Jewish nation, and I just wish people could experience our story, our life, and like I said, the way I grew up, I mean, I grew up completely different to what people kind of imagine
Hmm.
based on mainstream media, that this is a colonial project of the Jews that came from Europe, and they just take over this part of the Middle East, when really
Right.
the majority are Middle Eastern Jews, and then all these incredible ethnicities. Because And I say incredible because you get a flavor of everything growing up in Israel.
Hmm.
And 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 then when you said, like, you got into the military, you were the only guy of your community that you grew up with, but then you mix with everyone else, right? You got
Right.
Druze, you got Bedouins, and it's like, whoa, and then your whole world kind of opens up in the military. And that's the
Hmm.
first time also for me where I got to experience like all walks of life, religious, secular, the whole gamut.
Right.
Um, and so for you, like when you joined the unit, you ended up in a combat unit. How was that for you? How'd you feel? I mean, because you were shooting for tier one, for people to understand when you say Shayetet or our Navy SEALs. So that's shooting towards our tier one units, and then you ended up in a really high speed combat unit that predominantly focuses in Judea Samaria, and was
Right.
created to combat terrorism in Judea and Samaria. And you guys had a lot of work. I mean, a lot of
Hmm.
work. From all my friends that served in your unit, there lots of missions, and I mean, a grind basically to be there, right?
Right. So for me, when I joined the unit, when you suddenly see all these different kind of faces, and you can ask anybody to come from a minority group, it's like, I would never be friends with this guy. This is what you say. I'm not going to be friends with this guy or this guy or this guy. But the special thing about the military, special thing about brotherhood, is that it brings you together whether you like it or not. Basic training, you cuddle in with another guy, and you end up pulling him out on the stretcher, or if you end up shooting together, fighting together. That's like the brotherhood that's created there. I don't care which minority you are. You
Mhm.
together now. You're like glue.
Yeah.
So it was a really good experience.
So, what can you tell us about your service? Anything that kind of sticks out that you think people should hear or know about a particular mission, or just some goofy experience? Whatever comes to mind.
Um, well, if we here already, there's a subject I like to talk about, which is brotherhood.
Hmm.
Brotherhoods are really, I really like to talk about it. So let's say this past war, October 7th war, we had a few incidents. We had this guy, the new guy came from not a combat unit, and they're like, okay, this is this guy Bryant. He's with you now. So I'm like, okay, like did you ever fight before? Did you train with combat operators? Like, what's your background? He's like, oh no, I did this and this and this. Nothing related to combat. So I'm like, oh wow, okay, let's see how this is about to work out.
Well,
And
I understand why they put him with you because you're the weakest link in your team, right?
right, right. So I'm like, hold on, where did he put this guy from?
I mean,
And
talking about a guy who does full extended pull-ups in full kit and everything, and you know,
yeah, and
I gotta mess with you because
I'm down for it,
you definitely have the edge on me when it comes to the physical for sure.
man. So they put this guy with me, and I'm like, you know what, man, this guy gonna get me killed. This is not funny.
Yeah.
Anyway, so let's say I'm jumping just a few. We ended up in a gunfight with this guy, and I'm like, oh man, this is not happening. Not with this guy. Turns out this guy, he had my six. He came running. He came shooting. I'm like, who is this? Like, bro, like, where you coming from?
Hmm.
And he's like, man, I was scared. I was scared, but I see that you have my back, and I,
Hmm.
I got your back. No matter what we're doing. So
Yeah.
I'm just like, man, if that's not a brother, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
So that's a really good experience that I have from the military.
And so essentially, he fed off of your confidence, I would say,
Yeah.
and seeing that you're competent, you know what you're doing. I mean, I know that you're somebody that I can trust because of just the many projects that we've done together throughout the years.
Hmm.
But I think that makes a huge difference, and I'm assuming that's why your commander said this guy is going to be with Bryant because you know he
Yeah.
knows what the heck he's doing, and it seems like they did a smart move there.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. Definitely. Definitely.
So, what got you into doing executive protection? Like, what was the draw into that? When did you start doing that? Was that like immediately after you finished your military service, or did it take a few years?
So after my military service in 2018, I was drafted straight into the government sector,
Hmm.
and I was there for a few years. And at some point, like any other unit, you're like, okay, I need to find out like what's the next step. Like how do I go higher? What's the next level?
Hmm.
And a really good friend of mine, he's like, hey, we should go for executive protection for private security. And I'm like, what is that? And he's like, hey, I got this guy. Let's talk about it. Let's talk to him about it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, cool. So, like any other curious guy, I went, I read about it, I looked up on it, and I'm like, wow, that's a really meaningful job right there. I really think I'm gonna go for that.
Mhm.
And got some really good experiences from like the years that I've been in executive protection. That's how I got rolled into it.
And how was that like that transition? Like you were saying earlier, when we ran into each other, and I'm not sure if we did the first projects together, but it was somewhere beginning of your joining our team.
Mm-hmm.
Um, where essentially they send me to be the guy to break in the new young guys,
Yeah.
especially the ones that come from, our Secret Service types. Like you were saying, you're trained in a specific way to just be like a machine and not think, and you know, having government authority, if you like, you know, to
Mm-hmm.
now you're private sector. You don't have your badge that you can pull out, Secret Service, make the way, right?
Yeah.
But you're still doing the same clients, if you like, on the same level because it's exec protection. We're not talking about doing security, per se for I don't know, like a tour group or something. We're talking about, you know, like the third richest guy in the world,
Right.
or somebody who's the cutting edge on the developing of some of the highest end technology or social media giants. Like these are our
Mm-hmm.
clients, right? And or governments. I think we did a few of the governor groups that came in here and other politicians as well.
Yeah.
So it's like you're hitting everything, and what would you say that transition was like? And was I helpful to you, or now be honest? or was I like, were you like, man, that guy sucks, you know? And
I'm gonna keep it real.
yeah, yeah,
If you would have been there to tell me to stop being a watchdog, because whoever know the Israeli government or any government job, they're like, these guys are watchdogs. Like you said, they turn us into machines.
yeah,
And like your job is to look tough and to be tough, of course. And like you're really lacking like the emotional part. You're more on the
yeah,
the technical part. This is how it should
yeah,
stand. You got your arms folded, the shades and the
yeah,
earpiece. And that's all I knew for 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And suddenly when you join the private sector, just like we know some clients don't even like all of that, tough
yeah,
guy security. They're looking for a human. And
yeah,
the special thing about the executive protection in Israel is that most of us come from government or special forces. So our ability to go from 0 to 100 and from 100 to 0 is actually what defines us.
yeah,
So that that transition was like I needed the time to understand that, Brian. Everything is okay. No terrorist is going to jump out from under the wheel. I'm ready for it. Please come. I'm ready. But it's not going to happen right now. The threats are kind of different right now.
yeah,
So just learn to adjust. And you taught me how to adjust really well.
yeah, yeah.
Really well.
And I like what you pointed out there. It's the emotional intelligence that the clients in the private section many times they want, and they don't want someone that looks scary or whatever. They want somebody that actually, I think a good way to put it is that someone that can blend in with their teams. And here's the funny thing that I found is when you're working from some of your clients, these are like pacifists. They don't believe in guns. You know what I
Right.
mean? And it's like they begrudgingly their company are hiring you. And it's like they almost are ashamed that you're there with them.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's part of, and I think this is actually a fun little subject that I don't think I've talked about before. It's the why I think a lot of times they prefer somebody that will look like they're just part of the entourage. You're part of the, this geek squad of, super smart or super successful people, whatever they are, right?
Mm-hmm.
And trying to blend in. And I think that's essentially what I was trying to also teach you and the other guys is how to, also in just your dress. Cause I remember some of the guys were like, really, drone, that's what you're going to wear? And I'm like, yeah, you know, and I'd be like, just wait till the end of the day, and sure enough, right? I mean, the ones who dress the way they're taught to dress in the government, executive protection, as we're trained as, to look like a security guard. And here comes
Right.
drone kind of trying to, because I'd pick up on the client usually the first day. I try to do
Mm-hmm.
research ahead of time, but when I pick up on their style or whatever, I'm like, okay, that's their style, so I'm going to try to match it and not stick out like the sore thumb. Because I mean, a guy like you and a guy like me, I mean, we're not small guys,
Right.
and my beard and my look, is not something you just kind of disguise. And
It's
so
hey, try being 6'7", 6'7", tall black guy. This guy,
yeah,
you definitely not blending in with us, man. Like
yeah, yeah. And so
that's tough.
and what I found was fun with you too is you rolled with the humor, you know, we would, like we'd be just having the downtime, the clients doing their meeting or whatever, and then the people around trying to figure out who the heck are these people and trying to like milk information, right? We just
Yeah.
played dumb and we'd made stupid jokes, you know, and and that's part of it,
Yeah.
right? It's not being like, yeah, we're security for blah 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 blah,
Yeah.
you know.
Mhm. And nobody cares. Like once you out the government, once you don't have your badge, hey, I'm executive protection, bro. I don't care.
Yeah.
So you gotta keep the emotional intelligence to be like, hey, no, we good. We're not doing nothing. We just roaming.
Yeah.
Definitely,
Yeah, and
definitely.
just chillaxing with whoever's around. If it's a
Yep.
waiter or you know someone at one of these fancy hotels, you're just
Mhm.
keeping it real. You're keeping it on the down low with people, and
Right.
and I think that's something that again, when people think executive protection, they think of celebrities or politicians or whatever. They don't really
Mhm.
think of because you see that movie style of like what we were talking about, what not to be, and
Right.
then you have these dudes that are like trying to like just blend in, be silly if at times, not silly like I mean total moron silly, right? But
Yeah.
you're trying to downplay your toughness, your intimidation. That, I mean, already a guy like you or me, when we walk in, it's a little bit more intimidating for people. I mean, here in Israel, yeah. I mean, um, if depends on where you're at, but definitely for here in Israel, a big black guy like you that looks like a NBA player, or
Hmm.
a big American like me, and not your typical little Middle Easterner, we draw attention almost instantly. And then some
Right.
of our other guys that we work with are, some of them were, again, they have that look that, they can rip your head off. and
Right.
and I always thought it was fun to try to just, kind of break the ice with our surrounding and try to keep it on the down low and make that
Hmm.
your cover, so to speak.
Right. Right. Definitely a good thing to do. You don't want your surroundings to be more suspicious. No, just blend in with them as well.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Do you have any highlights from the times that we did security, or if it wasn't any of the projects we did, that stick out to you, and something that obviously people listening can learn from?
Um, do you remember the project that we did in Jerusalem with Todd? Do you remember Todd at
Yes.
the executive protection guy from Miami? So
Yes.
we ended a project. We ended the project, and like we were all so tired at the end of this project. And like,
Yeah. Yeah.
instead of like just going home and everybody going their ways, you a family man, I got my business, whatever.
Yeah.
You guys was like, hey, let's go down, let's just chill, get to know each other a bit more. And that was a time I was still a newbie in the executive protection world. And when you made that move of let's go sit with the other executive protection team, it opened a switch in my head. I'm
Hmm.
like, why would this guy not be as serious as he need to be? But I understood that it only add more value to the mission. These guys love us. I'm still in touch with Todd today, thanks to that
Yep.
mission.
That's right.
So
Same here, by the way.
like
Yeah.
that's a huge highlight, and you learn a lot from it. Like you ain't gotta always be mean and tough all the time. Just loosen up a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
100%.
Hmm.
That's a great point. First of all, Todd has many years of experience,
Yeah.
um, in executive protection, law enforcement, military. I mean, he has a really rich background himself.
Hmm.
But what I find, so this individual that we're talking about, we're obviously first name basis, but they were the personal protection for one of the top billionaires in the world. Not an easy client to satisfy either.
Wow.
Um, yeah,
Wow.
because all of them are like that. They're very demanding. They have their things that they want, and if they can't
Hmm.
get it when they're in a foreign country, let's just say they make your life not so easy, right?
Definitely.
And and I remember Todd and their team. They were the everyday personal protection for this client. And
Hmm.
we're the local talent. We're the ones that are supposed to receive them. We're the ones that are able to be armed. They're not. And so
Right.
they're really dependent on you. And what I've learned is when we're in that relationship, which is most of the work that we do here in Israel, um, rarely do we get the flip side where I'm the guy traveling on the other side of the world. And now I'm the guy who's not able to be armed protection other than my
Hmm.
physical, ability, right?
Right.
So I'm putting myself in their shoes. This sucks, right? I mean, they're used to back home. They probably got all the coolest gear and whatnot to do protection,
Hmm.
and they're 100% dependent on you.
Right.
And that move of, what, I'm tired, just go to bed, and I don't need to make rapport with these guys, but making that rapport, it makes the whole project and all the crap they need to eat from their clients, right?
Hmm.
Mostly, and then that trickles down towards us to try to just alleviate that, to let them know, hey man, we're with you, we got your back here. That goes a long way. That gives you a lot of mileage when you're doing executive protection.
Hmm. Yep. I've been thinking about it like just like you mentioned, when you take somebody and throw them in a foreign country and take everything, because I had missions back in the government sector when I was sent overseas, and it's like, hey, you're solo. You don't have the language, you don't have the authority that you have. So that's another thing about brotherhood, creating a brotherhood and depending on somebody with your life and with your client's life. And we all know how what happens if something happens to a client. That's a major move. That's a major move,
Hmm.
man.
And what would you say also about how in our company we focused on learning the old city for uh, for our security staff? Do you remember like how when you because before I'm sure you've been to Jerusalem, right? And you
Yeah.
did security projects, but you had
Hmm.
no clue about of your bearings, where you're at in the old city. It's one of the most
Right.
complex cities in a way if you don't know. But
Hmm.
once you know, it's actually quite straightforward. So
Right.
explain that to folks because I think that's also an important aspect that we bring to the table that is unique. And most, to my knowledge, most security companies don't even do that with their
Hmm.
with their agents as far as focusing on that skill set.
Right. So about learning about the old city. If I'm not mistaken, it was your idea
Yeah,
to bring it into the company.
yeah,
And whoever been to Jerusalem know that it's so many twists in the old city, so many twists and turns and left and right. And if you don't know where you're going, you done. You can
yeah,
ask people around, but you don't want to be on an executive protection detail and be like, hey, how do I go to the Western Wall, or how do I get to the this store or this restaurant? You don't want to be ignorant.
yeah.
So I think a really good thing that also defines the Israeli security is that we can learn to adapt and adjust really quick.
Hmm.
So I had missions where I was sent into the old city, and thanks to the tour guide, I was only able to do my security job. But sometimes the executive protection detail is just one guy, which is or me or you or any other guy. So you have to know where you're going.
Hmm.
So when we actually learned that, and you end up seeing that the client has come to you like, hey, how do I get to here or how do I get to there? You're like, oh, this is my time to shine. You're like, okay, so we need to take a left. On the next turn, we take a right. And I'm just like, man, I'm so happy we went through this. So
Yeah,
I think that's a must. I definitely understand that our company that we worked for, can we say their name on the podcast? I don't know. The
yeah.
company that we
Go
worked
for it. Mhm.
for BHS,
Yeah,
global company. I,
yeah,
I think we stand out more than the rest of the companies.
yeah, yeah. And I know that was an initiative that I helped bring, like you said, I helped bring that to the table. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is, I'm not about just keeping trade secrets to ourselves.
Right.
Um, I know we also focused on making sure that we had a proper trauma kit, not first aid, boo boos, put stickers, put
Plastic
band-aids on,
Band-Aid.
you know, and be like, here
Yeah.
you go. But the concept is that you're trained to make holes, but also to plug holes. And
Right.
if you're with a client in anywhere and you don't have on your person the ability to plug holes, right? God forbid they get shot. God forbid they get
Mhm.
cut with a knife
Right.
from some crazy, terrorists. What do you do? And so that was another initiative. I don't think I initiated it. I think it was one of the other guys in the company, but I
Mhm.
helped add to what I recommended should be in that everyday carry for our guys, and then together we kind of went over with the exact little pouch thingy, right, that we came up with.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I
he's like
remember that
he's
pouch
like, oh,
thingy.
you're the
Oh,
reason we had to carry that stupid thing around.
I remember it. Man, I remember the pouch thingy. Yeah,
Yeah. And so
man.
and so again, I mean, what do you think about that? I mean, what do you think the difference would have been had we not focused on competence of the old city, and specifically the old city? Because again, we don't do that in every city in Israel. We expect
Mhm.
the security agents to learn the route of the day because we get the
Right.
schedule usually from our clients or whatever, and so we do a pre assessment or whatever of where we're going to be. We're not completely ignorant to our surroundings, but um, the competence of knowing where you're at in the old city, just because it's such a complex city, and
Mhm.
because you take a wrong turn with your clients, and it could mean the difference between a nasty altercation and uncomfortable experience versus sweet that everything went smooth. It was the fun Jerusalem experience,
Right.
and the same with having that trauma kit. I mean, how do you think that contributed to your performance as a professional in the field?
Okay, so I'm gonna split the answer. Great question. I'm gonna split the answer to two.
Yeah.
The first answer, I'm gonna talk about the medical kit. Me, like my specialty is close quarters and hand to hand combat. I don't like back then. I didn't know nothing about medical. I know how to put on a tourniquet. If somebody gets shot, I know what to do.
Hmm.
But the kit that the company created was so advanced for me that if we
Hmm.
wouldn't have went over it, I probably wouldn't have known what to do.
Yeah.
So the fact that we brung it into the company and we like, hey, this is what you're gonna learn, whether you like it or not. Because we had a medic, but why do
Correct.
I have to know this? Like, even in the military, you got a medic on the team. Why do I need to know this? But what
And the
you
medic's the
understand,
one that taught us everything that we need to learn about the what's in our kit.
right, right,
And
right. Paul, we
he's,
had
I
a
mean,
really, really
the
good
dude
kid.
is on his way to becoming a medical doctor, by the way. So I mean, like this
Yeah,
dude is,
he's
you know,
super.
yeah, he's
He's super and
exactly,
he's badass.
exactly.
So the fact that they taught us that, and the fact that we were able to always have answers and solutions to the clients, it put us in a really good spot in front of the client because we don't want to look ignorant. We got number two, three, four of the richest people in the world. And if they get cut on their arm or on their wrist, you looking stupid. I don't know what to do.
Yeah,
So keeping it professional and adding things all the time to our security arsenal was a really, really great idea.
yeah,
The second thing The second thing, and not a lot of people notice about clients, is that most clients come to Israel, and we're their parents. We're their mom and dad. Everything is, can you take me? Can you bring me? Can you do this for me? And we good with it. But
right,
like,
right.
you know, aren't you like 30 plus? Why can't you do this by yourself? And like in theory. So
Yeah,
you're always their address. You always want to know everything you need to know about the job. Um, in security, there's a saying that says, "There's no 100%," and that's right. There's no 100%, but you need to know a lot close to that 100% in order to get your job done right.
yeah,
And that's what the clients are actually looking for. Yeah.
yeah. They're looking for that competence
Hmm.
because, like you pointed out, I mean, you're kind of like their mommy and daddy, so to speak, in a foreign country, and in the fact that they're relying on you to get them from place to place, or I need such and such and all that.
Right.
You're right. I mean, that is so important. And you know you have all your cool guy stuff, extra magazines, whatever on you, um, some type of comms deal, and these cool trauma kits. But I think another thing that people need to realize, if we're going to talk about, again, how do you say, my recommendation of what you should have in there, and that was different than all the other kits, right? Because I
Right.
always, of course, had a few extra things, and you might have noticed, you might have forgotten, but
Oh, I noticed. I noticed. I know.
how many how many times did we run into that issue, right? Where you're in that cool big van with the fancy seats, and
Hmm.
the client went and got a bottle of wine, some fancy wine they wanted to open, and someone forgot the bottle opener, the wine bottle opener. And
Yeah.
I had this one little guy. I mean, it's like little, like, I have nothing around here but I mean, it's like this, about the size of my pinky, and it's the bottle opener. It's like, it's a compact deal that kind of folds inside each other, and I just pull
Hmm.
that out, and you just see the client's eyes light up because
Like
they went from,
what?
oh no, to, oh, you
Oh,
saved me, you know.
you're the man.
Right. Yeah. And just little things like that, having a lighter, how many times are they looking for someone for a smoke, and
Right.
you're like, yep, got you covered, and
Hmm.
if you're a professional, and for the guys listening to this, and hopefully there are people there in this industry that are learning a few tips, and also please, in the comment section, add tips to us, because we don't know everything, you know
Right.
we learn from you, and others learn from us, and that's the fun exchange that we have, with working with other security teams from all over the world. um,
Hmm.
are there any tips of what you would say that you think should be added into your kit of your personal, what you carry with you as you're out there with your clients?
Okay. So for whoever's listening to this, it's gonna sound goofy, but I want you to really understand that this is what the clients are really happy for. we got our mags, we got our pistol, we got earpiece, we got the radio, we got everything we need to do the job operationally. But if you add small things, I want you to think like a woman for a second. If you add small things into your bag, wet wipes, you get the little Alka-Joe bottles.
There you
You
go.
got we had a client whose daughter, she ran into a cactus, and the medic we were talking about earlier, he had a tweezer. Who walk around with a tweezer? And he plucked the cactus out of.
That's right.
So this is the biggest client I think I ever worked with, and he see you taking care of his daughter or his wife.
Yeah.
You won the game, so you need to have all these small things. Just imagine, or for people who have kids, just imagine if something happened to my daughter right now, what can I do to assist her? What can I
Yeah.
do? A little toy, a little let's say one of my clients, they got dehydrated. We went down to Masada, and in most missions, and I don't even think nobody noticed, I walked around with salt and sugar. Salt and sugar is a old school combat. um you put it together in water, drink it, it's like rehydration water. So,
Hmm.
like, I walked around with a bag of salt and sugar all the time. So it's just the small things that you can think of outside of the 556 or the 9 millimeter that can actually assist the clients.
Yeah. No, that was great. Yeah, I totally forgot about the web. I mean, again, I wanted you to, you know, pipe in, what you remembered, and that's so fun because that's exactly it. I mean, those little things that you have in your kit, like you said, we have the aqua gel. I mean, there are clients, like, I mean, they're in love with the having their hands, especially after COVID. You're
Yeah. Let me
it's like, where's the.
sanitize my hands.
Yeah, let me say, I could care less, right? But like you said, when you're thinking about what could it be that my client might need or want out in the middle of Masada, like you're pointing out, and you
Right.
having something as simple as a packet of salt and sugar and being able to mix that with water, which you can find water almost anywhere in Israel.
Anywhere. Right.
Contrary to what people might think, it's a desert country and all this. Yes, but you can find water literally anywhere and everywhere, especially because where we
Hmm.
go, it's where tourists go, and you'll have that.
Right.
Besides the point, you have water on you as well.
Exactly.
Anyways, and I thought that was such a great point with the tweezer. Who carries a tweezer with them?
Who carries a
Um,
tweezer?
but to talk about our medic, I mean, he's our mutual buddy here, and in my opinion, one of the best security guards I've ever worked with,
Definitely.
besides yourself. Definitely, you two are the top two in my book, and I've had the honor of working with you guys. Um, but he also would carry an epinephrine. I think I forget how you say that,
Uh,
but
the happy pin for allergies.
EpiPen. Thank you, EpiPen. That's what it's called, EpiPen. Thank you.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, on that level, and for people who just, if you don't understand how that works, first of all, it's for allergies, right? And to help save someone's life if they, ate something they shouldn't or came in contact with something that triggered that allergy that could kill them.
Hmm.
Um, to have that on you, it's not something that you just buy and you can carry it for months. It has
Right.
like a shelf life, so to speak, outside of refrigeration, whatever, um, for a very short amount of time. And that's the level of what our company would invest in to make sure. And obviously, you and I wouldn't be carrying one of those things because, I mean, it's like, whoa, no thanks, you know.
Yeah.
But but you had your guy who was highly trained medical um, uh, provider who's able to get you that level of what you need. I don't even remember if did he ever use that in the field? Like, were there any clients that ended up needing that? I don't
I don't.
remember with me at least.
With me, he didn't use the happy pen, but he had other stuff in his bag where he used that would blow your mind. Like I don't know what it's called, infusia, where you open somebody's vein, they get dehydrated, and he's pouring liquids, and he had
Yeah,
the liquid bags like in the army.
yeah,
Where
yeah.
I'm like,
Full
where did you
infusion.
pull
Yeah,
that from? Where did you
yeah,
just pull that from?
yeah. Again, it's
Like,
something that doesn't have a long shelf life. I mean, longer
yeah,
than a EpiPen, but stuff
you got
like
to be
that.
really skilled to get this to get this bottle of water. That's not, you don't just go to the supermarket and buy that.
That's right.
So I'm just like, man, this guy's crazy. Man.
But again, I mean, that's the kind of A team that we work with, you know, and I think that's what every security professional should, uh, you know, that's what you should shoot for, not the
Right.
hard skills. Anybody can
Mhm.
learn the hard skills. Anybody can learn to be a total badass, you know, martial art expert, shooting, you know, marksman, what have you. Um, Most people, at least to my knowledge, at least the folks that we've worked with, they all can master those. But how many actually master the soft skills? How many master the intellectual intelligence to be able to, you know, be able to show confidence with a client that asks you a question, and you don't sound like a meathead and like, you know, I don't know, sir. You know, "No, it's not my problem."
I know everything, and I don't
Yeah.
need you. You don't.
Right? You know, because
Man.
you have guys like that. You have guys like that in the industry that are just like, man, you know,
Yeah.
and the clients will complain about them. And that's what I've also learned is the clients will be like, look, I don't want this guy, you know,
Mhm.
he's just too hard. And, you know, I need somebody that, you know, that can take care of my needs, you know, like you're saying, like
Yeah.
you,
That I can have my kids around without scaring my kids. Like
there you go.
this
There you
guy.
go.
Yeah.
Because people forget that too, right? A lot of times you're with families, with, you know, kids, teenagers, whatever,
Yeah.
and the more you're able to kind of, like you said, you know, adapt yourself to your surroundings, the more valuable you become to your clients.
Right. Because you have some clients that let's say like the company owner or whatever, he say, hey, this is my daughter. She's 9 years old. I want you to take her out to a fun day. The level of competence you need to have with yourself for your client to say that is I can't even like it's you gotta have a really high level of emotional intelligence and competence for your client to say, hey, take my daughter and disappear for the day. He don't know me. He in a foreign country. But once again, that's the job you gotta learn.
Yeah, and you could be on that level of trust with your client.
Right.
Um, so, brother, talk to us about Warrior Nation. Tell me about what inspired you to do that, and what projects are you that have you've been doing um, in order to promote that.
So Warrior Nation was actually born out of the fact that I started teaching Krav Maga to civilians. Once I left the executive protection, I decided that I want to take the Krav Maga, the tactical part of it, and start teaching civilians and security people. And Warrior Nation was actually born after October 7th War, where I realized and understood that if I can take my skills and teach people to be more ready now for threats that's coming, that's what I prefer to do. So Warrior Nation actually splits into two. The first part is teaching tactical Krav Maga, not typical Krav Maga that people learn in gyms. I'm talking Krav Maga that you use in close quarter, Krav Maga that you use in hand-to-hand combat against very bad threats, let's call it.
Hmm.
And the second part of Warrior Nation is actually where I take my skills and things that I've been through over the years and I go to the veteran community and I'm teaching leadership and I'm teaching mindset and I'm teaching tactical mindset. And I'm like, let's say new warriors that's coming up, just finished training. I want to teach these warriors what to do through chaos. So that's what Warrior Nation is actually doing. That's Warrior Nation.
Hmm. And,
Hmm.
and what what are you doing for the veteran community, like you were saying, to help fight PTS? How does that work?
So bringing people on to talk about PTS is one of the biggest problems that we have among soldiers and veterans.
Hmm.
I'm not trying to force anyone to come to me like, hey, I have PTS, this is my problem. So what I'm doing is I'm sharing my story through my podcast on my page of a lot of difficulties that I've been through, whether it's gunfights, whether it's lonely nights I've been going through, nightmare, anything. I'm just sharing my story to the world to show people that there's someone to listen to you. There's
Hmm.
someone that you can share your stories with. And once again, I'm not a therapist. I'm just a brother, your brother, who's been through the same combat experience. So I know where you're coming from. So creating a global community now, that's what I'm working on now, of people with similar war experiences. That's what I want. Come share. Come talk to me. I'm your brother, bro.
Yeah.
I'm not feeling sorry for you. I'm not feeling sorry for you.
Yeah.
But I know what you've been through. And I got your back now.
Hmm. Yeah, that's awesome because, I think that's something that is going to be the unfortunate ramifications from this 2-year war that we've been fighting is that
Mhm.
guys have been in some of the worst hell of war fighting. Again, contrary to what you see on the media and the lies about us and whatever, um, this has literally been one of the hardest wars that have been fought in the modern, in the modern century that we've been fighting warfare. I'd say next to the Ukraine-Russia war,
Mhm.
which is also a very brutal war, horrible, horrible losses and trauma and just crazy stuff going on in the battlefields that people are exposed to, carnage and whatnot. Um, and I think it's very important that is what comes after the day after these wars are done. You know, guys aren't just going to go hang up their cape, so to speak, and be like, okay, I go on with life as normal.
Mhm.
Um, you have to process all these things. You have to process what you've been through. And I think
Right.
it's important what you're saying is that you have someone that you can talk to if you want or not. I mean, it's up to you. But it's someone that's been there, someone who understands. Because I know, for example, with me, I've, through the trauma of growing up that I had as a child, I spoke to shrinks a lot throughout my whole childhood. I'm not very, I'm not very impressed with the shrink community, to be honest.
Right.
That's just me. I'm not saying don't go to a shrink. I have friends who are some of the hardest guys I know and have been through some of the worst war fighting, especially in this war, that I highly
Mhm.
respect. And they've had a lot of success with the shrink, with their PTS that they're dealing with.
Mhm.
So don't take what I just said and be like, oh, Daron's against shrink, so I don't go to shrink. I'm just saying
Right.
that's my story. Maybe it's because of my connotation with them. Maybe it's the way I grew up with them.
Mhm.
But being able to talk to a fellow brother that's been through it and to have some commonality, so to speak, something that we both have been through. I can't talk
Right.
about the war with my actual family, right? My actual brother-in-law, let's say, who's one of my closest friends. The conversation go only so deep because I know he doesn't know what it is, what it feels like, what it smells like, what it sounds like to be in
Mhm.
war. The smell of death that we experienced, in Berry, for example, when we had to collect rotting bodies that were laying out there for a week uh,
Mhm.
after October 7th, and just the smell of that death. Explain that to
Right.
somebody. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, it kind of falls short. But to have a
Mhm.
fellow warrior that's been through it and to have that conversation, I think is really immense.
Yeah.
Um, how do you do that? Like, how are you able to get these veterans to you know to get to the round table, so to speak, and hash those things out?
So we both know that if you force someone to talk about their war experience, the last thing they're gonna do is talk about their war experience.
Hmm.
But if you come to someone and I read this somewhere, I heard it actually somewhere on the podcast. I don't remember where you ask a friend or you tell a friend, "Hey, can I have 8 minutes of your time, or can you give me 8 minutes of your time? No more than that." And you just tell this person what you're going through. I tell my best friend like what I'm going through,
Hmm.
and then he say, "You know what? I'm so glad you shared that with me, brother. I'm going through the same thing. I'm having trouble with my wife, kids, sleeping." And it's just like I, I made you share through my sharing.
Right.
So it's just it's like it's a ping pong game, you know. And my podcast clips that I upload as well,
Hmm.
people I don't even know be texting me like, "Hey, bro, this is my story." I'll text them back. "I'm glad you shared," and I'll try to generate a conversation. They won't even answer. I'll be like, "Cool. I mean, you got it off your
Yeah.
chest. You
Yeah.
got it off your chest. You spoke to me about it. You wrote it out.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm, I'm good." You know. And these is people I don't know on Instagram. They'll text me, Facebook.
That is so cool, man.
Hmm.
What would you like to see as the next stage of, like, if you were able to, or whatever, if it's not a matter of funding or what have you, what would you imagine or envision would be a project you'd like to do with your Warrior Nation project?
So one of the biggest projects I wish I was able to do, and I will work on it and I will do it, is I would like to get warriors, a lot of warriors in one room where everyone's able, like, you have mingling and network conferences. Well, I want to do something really similar to where people come and just talk to each other. They have a lecturer, a mindset lecturer, and I'll speak to them about how I got through challenges and difficulties. And it's just I don't want to call it a community or a lecture because that's too. But like have everybody in one room, and I'm like, hey, I'm Mr. Bryant. Okay, I went to PTS. I can't hear motorcycles without being ready to fight. Okay, I'm putting this out on this podcast. Only my close friends know this. I cannot
Hmm.
hear motorcycles.
Yeah.
So how do I get through that? I slept in basements for a lot of years. Even when I was in the government or in the private sector, my house was in a basement because I can't hear the street motorcycles. So there's solutions to my problems. I'm not going to just go around whipping about it. I can't sleep. You
Hmm.
have a solution. So I want to share my solutions with people. I want you to share your solutions with someone who's been to, I haven't fought in Gaza. So I don't know what's the smell of the dirt there. I don't know. I was in the
Yeah.
West Bank through my whole but if my friend John come to you like, hey Duran, this is what I'm going through, you're like, hey, yeah, I feel you. This is what I did with my wife, kid, and you can help him. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm trying to generate. A
So
brother that can
yeah,
help a brother.
exactly, exactly. I think that's awesome, and I think that's actually a really good initiative. And I think one of the best ways to help fellow veterans is getting them together. If it's to do something fun together, team building, what have you, right? Um,
Right.
but also to have guys that ahead of time, like you were saying, are going to be the ones that are going to be designated to break the ice, share their story,
Mm-hmm.
and like you said, it's a ping pong because even though you don't have to have a lot of people kind of set up to where you can depend on them to be the ones to break that ice, but once
Right.
one of you are sharing your perspective, your angle, what you've experienced and been through, immediately someone else can relate to that, and then, like you said, it's like a ping pong. They're just gonna be able to feed off of that, and I think that community style coming together of veterans, and I think it would be cool to have people from all over the world actually coming
Yeah.
together, and maybe even here in Israel, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
I know there's a lot of people that would like to be here one day. They like to come here, but they don't want to come as tourists. They want to connect with other veterans, with other people, and that would be a great initiative to be able to plug into, like what you're
Mm-hmm.
saying.
Yep. hmm And an important message I just want to throw out here, and just a small message. I know a lot of times we be saying veterans, and a lot of people think male fighters, the
Yeah,
guys, the
yeah.
bros. We both know that there's lots of females in Israel, and it's really important for me to say this right now. In
Hmm.
Israel and around the world, that have been through combat. They fought through an October 7th war, and they also have their problems. So if anyone's hearing this podcast and they think we're only talking about the guys, we're
Yeah.
talking to the females as well. You're part
Correct.
of this brotherhood or sisterhood.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah.
Spot on. I mean, in fact, the other day I was at the Christian Media Summit,
hmm
and there was a person I was supposed to meet from the U.S., and it didn't. It looked like it wasn't going to turn out. Um, and sure enough, I met them at the summit, and I just kind of laughed. I said, "Hey, because they recognized me. I've only known them online. I haven't seen their face yet." The funny thing was is that so she recognized me, right, and walked up and said, "Hey, Drone, it's guess who it is?" And I said, "Oh, no way!" And what so she's a female, right? And what I learned real quick is that she's also a veteran, and she started to talk about in a relatable way through conversation, like you said. She'd share about herself. She'd share about her service in the U.S. Military, and then she would ask with a real concern, "How are you doing?" And it didn't feel superficial. It didn't feel like you're talking to a civilian.
Yeah.
And even though, like you said, even though she's a female, in my mind, when I know that, based on what she just told me, that she served with guys like me downrange, guys like me that are combat and been fighters and all this, and that she, can relate and she can also see, those symptoms and whatever, then it made me want to open up. It made me want to share with her and be honest and
Hmm.
not just give her this BS answer of like, oh no, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I'm happy. I'm fine. You know,
Yeah.
like many of us do.
Right.
And and so just to hone in on what you said there, you're right. I mean, it's, anybody who's been through that and experienced that, male or female, we're able to relate to each other, and I think your initiative and what you're trying to build is very valuable, and it's connecting with people on a human to human level,
Right.
but with similar experiences, right? Because
Hmm.
again, I can't have this conversation with any civilian, like you said, talking about how you get triggered by motorbikes, driving by. I have that same issue. I'll hear, where I live in the mountains, it's very quiet, but you have these guys, these smart Alex that want to race, the road here, and when you hear the, it sounds
Yeah.
like the beginning of a siren, and so that's what
Right.
triggers me. That gets me go, whoa, like, oh, a
Yeah.
siren. Do we have to run to the, to the bomb shelters? And it triggers that PTS that's in you of this
Hmm.
constant, your connotation of a certain sound, of a certain noise, to a trauma of war.
Right. You're already you always ready to fight. That's the thing. Like the triggers is always like, what, a lot of people. I don't want to make nobody mad on this podcast, but I'm gonna say it anyway. A lot of people, they fall for the pity of the PTS.
Hmm.
It happened to me as well. Be like, oh, I didn't wake up this morning. I'm like, working out this week. Oh, PTS. Oh, PTS. If we don't start as combat operators using our PTS to become the greatest thing walking on this planet, we making a mistake. I love waking up in the middle of the night from crazy shit. Like, up motorcycle, wake up, gunshot. Love it. Let me go work out. Let me go running. Let me sit on the computer, work on Warrior Nation.
Yeah.
We need to start using this to become greater. That's another message I'm trying to put out here.
Yeah.
We already been through shit, but our body is wired. Let's get it rolling.
Yeah.
Let's get it
Yeah.
rolling.
Don't use it as a crutch,
Yep.
but use it as a motivator, is what you're saying.
Hmm. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's not gonna be easy. It's not gonna be easy. And I don't want to speak for everyone, but I'm speaking to everyone for them to understand that, you know, you can use this as a spike, Get up and do something.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So, is there something you wanted to leave the audience with here before we wrap this up? That I didn't cover, I didn't ask, that is important for you to share, and get out there to our lovely audience out here that's listening and watching this podcast, brother. What would you like to leave us with your final thoughts?
Can I leave 2 points?
You can
Is that
have
all
one
right?
and a half. You can have one and a half.
One and a half, because I'm black. Okay.
And
I'm
we
just
would do
kidding.
this all the time, by the way. What he just said, we do this all the
At work,
time, and
you know,
people
I,
would get like nervous and tense and like, "Oh my gosh, what did they just
they're gonna
say?"
fight. They're gonna
Yeah,
fight. Oh
yeah,
no. No, we good. Y'all don't even know. So I got two messages I want to leave. One and a
yeah.
half for the audience. The
You're
first
right.
one is talking to civilians. I want to send out a message to civilians. If we already speaking about the military and the security world as one,
Hmm.
um, October 7th war taught us that we can never be too ready. Okay,
Hmm. Yeah.
uh, it caught us, and a lot of people won't admit us, but we lost the first blow. But we adjusted ourselves and adapted really quickly to the situation. We saw how all the military troops went down south to fight, Judah, Samaria, up north. People started to move. People started to maneuver, even if the system failed. Okay, so what I want to tell the civilians first of all is you can never be too ready. Get up, get out, and train.
Yeah.
Only thinking it won't happen to me anymore is not enough. Go get fit, go to shooting ranges, work on your environmental awareness. If you let's say you have you can't do fitness, work on environmental awareness. Tell yourself what can I do if a threat happens right now? If something happened right now, go get ready. That's the first message I have
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
civilians.
And by the
And
way, most people do think like what you just said, it'll never happen to me. Because that's what I've heard
that's
from testimonies of people that survived these horrible atrocities and either a mugging or whatever it is, and they almost all will say that. Well, I never thought this would happen to me,
hmm
and as they're in shock and they're still, their system is still in that high, so to speak, and in
yeah,
just days of like, I can't believe this just happened.
the
So
worst mindset you can have, the
yeah,
worst.
so think, if the worst case scenario happens, what do I do? Am I ready, physically prepared, tools,
Yep.
right? And
hmm
like you said, maybe you can't physically train. People have their disabilities, whatever that may be, but you still can do something. You can still
Right. You
have a
can be mentally ready.
contingencies. Yeah, you can
Right.
still have a contingency. You can still have something, in the tank, so to speak, to
hmm
throw out when life throws crap at you.
Right.
Yeah, that's great.
hmm Yep. And the half, my one and a half, is a message to the world and to whoever's listening to this podcast. Um, if we stop treating, as civilians, if we stop treating PTS as a cuss word, it'll be much easier. It's not going to be easy. It'll be much easier for warriors, male and female, to expose themselves to the world and ask for help, in my opinion.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's my message.
That's a great point, brother. That's a great point. Well, Adael, my man, thank you so much for this wonderful interview. It's such an
Thank you
honor.
for having me.
Yeah, man,
Likewise, likewise.
such an
I'm
honor.
I'm
This
glad
is
to be here, man.
you're my first, I think, teammate of any kind on the podcast. I'm
Woo.
gonna try to get some of my military teammates on the podcast, but a lot of them are the secret scroll types and can't show their face and whatever. And
hmm
you know, your accent, your English is, of course, makes it easier for most people as well to be able to hear what you're saying, understand it, and that brings so much value of your story that you're able to share, and your special angle that you have growing up here in Israel, which I think is really so valuable, brother. Thank you so much.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Thank you very much for having me here today.
Well, folks, if you enjoyed this podcast, make sure to share, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. This was a cool podcast episode. You got to hear a very unique story, a very unique angle out of Israel. You were surprised when you clicked on this. This wasn't what you expected when you were thinking Israel and an interview with an Israeli security professional. And therefore, share this, guys. Get this to as many people as possible. The algorithms are not going to help me. They're not going to promote me. They're not going to support me, just because of the way it is. This because of the way it is. The message that we share is unique, is different, and the algorithms like to put cute little cats or puppies or whatever in your face. But these are real stories, real people with a very unique perspective to share with you. And I believe Bryant has been able to give you some really, really good nuggets of truth and tools for you as an individual, as a civilian, and also as a warrior slash security professional. So we've kind of covered a really well-rounded crowd of people that are listening. And
hmm
if you do that, then you can get this out to as many people as possible. Guys, I also appreciate your support. I don't have any sponsorships or anything like that. But also, most importantly, I want you to go out and we're going to have in the link below everything connected to Bryant, the Warrior Nation, and everything. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow him so that his platform can grow and that he can grow his message, which I think is a very, very valuable initiative that he has taken on himself. And he, again, one of the coolest guys I know. And you definitely want to be able to follow him and see what he comes up with the years to come here as he continues to grow his platform and his message, and really continue to inspire so many people around the world.
Appreciate it, brother.
So with all that, guys, thank you, and shalom from Israel.